Welcome to the Backlot 605 podcast. This is episode number 43. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Casey Kelderman.
I'm Brian Mensing.
And today we are joined once again by Brandon Lunzman.
Nice to see you guys again.
Yeah, so we're going to bring you on for an episode proper. You're going to be doing the news with us, the box office, and Stephen King movies.
Wow, I feel like such a fanboy right now.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go through them all.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We might stumble through a few of them.
just like the filmmakers did.
So we're throwing shade already.
Yes, we will. But I think it's nothing but love.
It's the love-hate relationship.
Yeah, as I was saying before we started recording, like, even the bad Stephen King movies are fun to watch, and we'll get to those.
When you have the right group of people to watch bad movies with, it can be a really fun time.
Oh, yeah, get that one person sitting on the couch who's just like, God, this is stupid.
Well, then they can just leave.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into what we always start off with. This is the box office, and looking at these numbers, it's not been a good week for this Labor Day weekend. Number one, Angel Has Fallen, $11.5 million. It's a movie.
I had a pre-screening ticket when I was in Florida to London Has Fallen, and I could not tell you anything about it. I completely forgot it as soon as I got out of the theater. So
what you're saying is this is one where you're like, no, I'll pass.
Yeah, I saw the trailer and I thought it was fan-made at first. I was like, is this actually a movie? I was like, okay, all right.
It looks like it might be legit.
Yeah, I would see it for Nick Nolte alone, but I don't think I'd go pay $10 to go watch it.
It's the end of August, and with it Chapter 2 coming out, I feel like, it's not going to be that busy of a weekend. There's just nothing big coming out.
No, and we talked about it last week when the Playmobil movie completely ruined our topic for the week because it got moved. I don't understand why it didn't want to go up against this lineup that we have now.
I mean, it probably would have had a better shot than going up against, things like Frozen and Star Wars.
Those little properties.
Oh, yeah, there's like a ton of big property movies coming out in the wintertime. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. And
then the Joker movie coming out in October.
Yep.
I heard that's amazing.
It's getting really good reviews from what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Number 2 this week, Good Boys, $9 million. 21% drop from last week. Not too bad. Bringing its total domestic gross $56 million. So that's doing pretty good.
I'd say
for R-rated comedy about kids.
Well, I was gonna say an R-rated Seth Rogen produced comedy going up against the aging Gerard Butler. I think that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
I have yet to see Good Boys, but I actually really want to see that.
Yeah, I've heard fun things about it.
I like when kids swear.
Yeah, that's always fun. Number 3, The Lion King, of course, staying in strong, $6.7 million. It's The Lion King. It's the Disney beast.
We just can't. How many weeks has this been?
7 weeks.
And that's telling you something when your 7-week-old movie is still in third place.
Yeah, domestically, it's grossed over $500 million.
I've yet to see it. Because I already saw it when I was a kid.
I mean, you have seen
so
it. You've seen the animated Lion King movie, yeah.
The only reason I want to see it is because Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, is Simba.
Like, that's one of the things I was actually looking forward to. Like, the voice cast that they brought in for this movie is absolutely amazing, and that would be one reason to want to see it. And then you watch the trailer, you're like, I'm bored now.
There's just no emotion to their faces. And I get it, like what they're going for, but I just don't think it transferred over well.
No, especially in a musical, like,
you
don't want to see just monotone mouths moving. Yeah. Number 4, Brian's favorite, Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, $6 million.
I got to go on another nerd rant about this last night when I was at a friend's. We were having a fire pit out in the backyard because why not?
Is this your favorite of the year so far, Brian?
I don't know if I could say that.
This has Best Picture written all over it, if you ask me.
God damn it, David Leitch needs to get an Oscar for this.
The Rock is in the running for Best Actor, right?
If he doesn't get it for that, he'll get it for Jumanji 2.
Yes. Number 5, then, we're going to round it off. Overcomer, $5.7 million.
What is that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I must be out of the loop when it comes to film. Jeez.
Didn't you say this by the same people that did like Fireproof and such?
Yeah. Faith-based movie. It's only in less than 2,000 theaters, so pulling in still that number 5 spot is pretty good. Looking at number 6, Ready or Not, unfortunately still not making the top 5. What is wrong with you people? Go watch it right now.
I will go watch it.
You need to go watch. It is amazing.
I can't remember the last movie. Oh god, the last movie I saw was Hobbs and Shaw. That's embarrassing to admit. That is really embarrassing.
As I brought it up to Brian, making fun of Hobbs and Shaw, that it's your favorite of the year, I think Ready or Not might be my favorite this year.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah, it's in the top 3 at least so far that I've seen. It's a fantastic film.
Now that I've been tracking my movies, and when we had this conversation last year in December, hey, what's your best movie of the year? I'm like, I don't even remember what I watched.
Yes.
Now that I'm tracking, I'll be able to look at the list and go,
use the letterboxed. Use the letterboxed, Brian.
I do use the letterboxed.
All right. So any other final thoughts on the box office? It's an overall disappointing week for sure.
Yeah.
Chapter 2 is going to crush.
Oh, yeah. I think going into September, there's a lot of good movies coming out. So I think that this last weekend, it was just like, it's the last weekend in August. I don't think anyone's really... I think they want to save their money for all the big properties that are coming out because movies are not cheap to go to nowadays. So
No, I would agree. And part of me at first thought was like, well, it's a holiday. Do something over the holiday because somebody's going to want to go do something and when they're not working. But when you bring up Chapter 2, and it's like, that's probably why. Because they're going to go from like 2nd to like 9th.
Yeah. Do I want to go see Angel Has Fallen or do I want to just save my money and go to it next weekend?
Yeah. Speaking of Labor Day weekend, I only saw this because I saw Rob Zombie tweeted about it or something. His Halloween 2 is the #1 grossing film over Labor Day weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So overall, this must not be a very good weekend to release film, I guess. You would think the opposite because most people don't work Mondays.
Yeah. But I think also there's just a lot people are preparing for, especially people going back to school and then football. I mean, of course, I was just talking to you guys about this. I don't know. I just don't think the NFL, I guess, is big time for movies.
Yeah. Are we ready to move on to the news?
We are.
All right. This first piece of news, I think this is a really fun one. Richard Linklater is set to begin filming a 20-year project because 12 years was not enough.
Jeez.
And I'm still even, when I saw this, you made a comment about this, so I had to pull up the article and whatnot. I'm like, okay, so you made a 12-year movie where you have to go on the faith that the people in this movie are going to be there for the full 12 years since SAG won't let you write a contract that long. And then it's like, okay, now I've got a 20-year project that I want to do, and I have to do it in reverse.
Yeah, so this is based on the musical Merrily We Roll Along. I've never heard of it, but as Brian said, it kind of takes place in reverse chronological order. So it starts when they're younger, or
I love that.
Yeah, and then goes. I don't know, Brian. Do you know what the plot is of that musical?
I looked it up, and right now, unfortunately, it's escaping me.
Okay. It stars Ben Platt. He was in Pitch Perfect, and Beanie Feldstein from Booksmart. They're set to play the leads, and 20 years. That's a long time to be on the same project. And like you said, having just complete trust in your actors that they're going to show up every year.
It's like the people who made Boyhood.
Yep. Like it's the same. Yeah, same guy.
Yeah. Okay. I totally forgot who directed Boyhood for a second.
20 years. I made a joke about it on Facebook. Like he's in the front running for the 2040 Best Picture.
Right.
But I mean, still, even like looking,
he'll be like 80 when that finally gets done.
That's ambition, though. Like you got to respect people who are that ambitious with filmmaking.
Yeah, and if he can bring the same like the charm and realistic factor like he did in Boyhood, like I'm gonna love this movie. I love Boyhood. I thought Boyhood was great, and 20 years. That's just mind-boggling.
And the funny thing is, Brandon over here is using the exact same word I had when I read the title to the article was ambition. Like, you tell me anybody else in Hollywood that has the ambition this man has if you're going to pull off something like this.
Yeah, and he's also a great filmmaker.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts on this 20-year project?
Who do you think, not even necessarily for this particular project, but like say a director-wise, do you see anybody else in Hollywood that you think would have necessarily the ambition or the ability to try to pull off something equivalent to this, even 12 years like Boyhood?
The only other person I could think of that would want to try something like that would be Tarantino.
I was going to say only because he releases a movie, every 10, 11 years anyway, is James Cameron. But like,
does Avatar 2 count as a 12-year project?
I don't know. Apparently, he's doing like 3, 4, 5, and
all at
like
once,
all of those. So, but yeah, Tarantino would definitely. But then again, like, isn't like this next movie going to be his last one? Apparently.
Well,
maybe he wants to make it last. I don't.
There you go. Yeah.
He's always made this comment that he's got 10 films. When he's 10 films, he's retired and whatnot. And
God, he's so artsy and cool.
well, that's just being a Tarantino fan. I'm like, no, I need more Tarantino. But at the same time, too, if you kind of put your stamp on your legacy and you're like, I'm done, you have to respect that.
But then if he does Kill Bill Volume 3. Will he just include that as one movie with Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2? And then
1 and 2 is considered one.
Exactly. So then he can kind of, there's the curve there.
I put a clause in my statement.
Yeah. Same with the Star Trek movie. Maybe it's 10 original movies. And therefore, Star Trek is a franchise movie. It doesn't count. I don't know.
I still don't know.
How
I feel about it. Star Trek.
I'm still trying to figure out. I'm just trying to see how Paramount's going to be like, let's get this done.
An R-rated, bloody Tarantino Star Trek. Yes. Let's move on to the next piece of news. Tigers Are Not Afraid director Issa Lopez is set to develop a werewolf western with producer Guillermo del Toro.
There's going to be a lot of weird production design in that one.
Yes. Tigers Are Not Afraid is a Shudder original horror film that is set to come out here in the next month or two, and it's been getting rave reviews, and then having Del Toro attached to anything at this point almost turns it to gold.
What'd you guys think of The Shape of Water, by the way?
Have you watched it?
No.
Okay.
You haven't seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've wanted to.
It's really weird.
It's a perfect movie, in my opinion.
Is it?
I love it. It is what you need. Like, for me, who loves weird shit, obviously, I think it is a perfect, like, love story movie, even though it's a deaf woman and a
fish
and a fish man. But it just the way Del Toro presents it is beautiful, and I love the backstory behind it too. It was just the fact that he saw a shot as a kid from Creature of the Black Lagoon with the creature swimming underneath the woman swimming above the water, and he's like, that's just beautiful, and that's like love right there, and he makes an entire movie about it. I'm like, that's fantastic.
He's one of those. He's another one of those ambitious filmmakers, I would say, where he has his
mindset on what he's doing,
and he's good at it.
Yeah.
I think some of his stuff is always hit or miss for me. Shape of Water, I think I was a little bit more divided on than you were, but I definitely think it still deserved like some Oscar praise.
Yeah.
Don't know if it was Best Picture though.
So now that I finally got it pulled up, because I wanted to look at and do a little checking in regards to your Halloween comment, right? Labor Day must really fucking suck, because your number one is Halloween, followed by The Possession, Transporter 2, One Direction, Jeepers Creepers 2. I've got Balls of Fury in here, Machete, Crank. Like,
Balls of Fury.
Number 15 is Babylon AD. Number 14 is Wicker Man. Like, yes.
Okay, so it was the Rob Zombie's first Halloween movie.
Yes, the first Halloween.
Okay. It's still not a good movie, but
no.
Yeah.
At least from what I was, because I was like, Dad, this is wrong. When I went to Halloween 2, I'm like, it's at like 155. Nope, his original Halloween. And it takes first place by $8.5 million to number 2.
What did the Halloween open at?
30.5.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Not for Rob Zombie. That's pretty good, if you ask me.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of this werewolf western idea?
Hey, I was all for werewolves, aliens and cowboys. So it's something different. I think that I legit, as much as I'm not much into like westerns for the most part, to like cowboys and aliens or something to this effect, to do something that is a different type of movie in like the Old West, because a modern day zombie, werewolves, vampires, all the stuff, whatever, it's been done. Give me a different time period of that's unusual, like a medieval times or caveman times, something different, because it's either a period to like a Van Helsing or whatever, it's a period to the original creation of these characters, or modern day. Give me something different, and that's what I enjoy about this idea.
I think having someone like Del Toro behind it will definitely will bring attention to it. I hope that people go and see new and original stuff in general. because it just seems like, the reason why Hollywood's not making new original stuff all the time is because people aren't going to see it. And, if you put someone like Del Toro behind this, I'm pretty sure they'll recognize the name and they'll be like, oh, well, he makes weird stuff, but, it's good. So
maybe that's why Hostel did somewhat decent, because they're like, Tarantino presents.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. If there is a name and they're a producer on it, they're gonna slap that name on the poster. And
you're like, Eli Roth, who?
I love this idea. I think every Del Toro project he brings something magical to it. Like, there's always a sense of realism too, especially when it comes to like the monsters and creatures. Even this year, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, like the creatures are fantastic, and part of that's because it's Del Toro's production helping out. And I think a werewolf western is a fantastic idea. And like I said, I'm excited for Tigers Are Not Afraid, so I'm looking forward to this movie. We have a lot of horror news. I just realized that.
Well, it's getting time.
Yeah. Blumhouse is set to produce a horror comedy from Chris Landon, who did Happy Death Day 1 and 2. And it will star Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton. And it's about a serial killer who switches bodies with a teenage girl. So it's like Freaky Friday with a slasher.
Oh,
that sounds awesome.
You were going Freaky Friday, and I was thinking the hot chick.
With Rob Schneider?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, my.
Rachel McAdams?
Yeah. Brian, why did you bring that up?
Because you're talking...
You're switching bodies, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Happy Death Day, so I think that, it's dumb, but it's entertaining, and I think that's the most important quality of a film. Like, obviously, people are paying money to be entertained, so...
I enjoy Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
It was one of those ones where, first you're like, it's a horror movie that's not rated R, but the way that they cut the movie, it makes sense, and you don't need the rated R, but... Not everybody agrees with me.
No, I'm fine. I like Happy Death Day. I think Happy Death Day to You is a giant misstep in where they wanted to go with that series. But I think the first one is a fun take on the slasher genre. And I think having Christopher Landon on this makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I want to see creepy Vince Vaughn in this movie. And then I want to see funny Vince Vaughn who has to play a teenage girl.
I miss creepy Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he's going anywhere, so... You'll be able to see a lot more of him.
Yeah, I think this is a fun idea, and I don't know, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And Blumhouse behind it, they're going to push the hell out of it, and I think it'll have some at least fun and inventive stuff behind it.
Which one is she from the Blockers?
The blonde-haired girl.
Okay.
You mean, like Leslie Mann's daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
Yep.
I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's Catherine Newton. She, so I want to see Vince Vaughn play the teenage girl.
Hopefully he
that'd be
doesn't play like a Norman Bates type character that he did in The Remake of Psycho.
Yeah, we need
You all right
more...
I'm good.
Yeah, we need more modern Vince Vaughn than that Vince Vaughn.
Exactly.
Last piece of news we have here, original Halloween actress Kyle Richards is set to reprise her role of Lindsay Wallace in Halloween Kills. So this follows last week's news of Anthony Michael Hall joining the cast as an adult Tommy Doyle. So we're going to get the kids that Laurie babysat back as adults.
Great. I liked the new Halloween, but I think a lot of the excitement for me was based on the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis was going to be in it again. And I thought that it was okay. I don't know. I think it's cool they're bringing people back, but if the story is not there and it's just going to be another Halloween film, I don't know. I'm kind of tired of the series, to be honest. I think it just should have rested. But hey, if it's making money, they're going to do what they got to do.
It falls into the lines what you said earlier about they've got the property that know that's going to make money, so they're going to make that as opposed to the original content.
Exactly. So a name being brought back into the series that was originally in there, I thought it would be cool, Jamie Lee Curtis, and it was just okay. So I think for me to get invested in Halloween Kills, is that what the sequel is called?
Yep.
Yeah, I got to see a trailer. And I just got to be like, all right, he's probably going to die at the end and then come back to life. And
that's what Michael does.
That's what a slasher movie does. I love it.
I know. But even I don't know. I guess Scream is probably my favorite slasher series. And yeah, they kind of follow the same formula, but I don't know. I like the neat little twists they do on that.
Yeah, I think this is a fun little thing that we're going to get. Yeah. It's nothing special. I don't think her and Anthony Michael Hall are going to play any big parts in this.
I bet you they'll be in there for 3 to 4 minutes, maybe even max. Just like, oh, yep, there they are.
I think I honestly think both will finally die.
You think that's what they're just bringing them in to kill them?
Yeah, they're like, we couldn't kill them as kids. We got to kill them as adults.
Well, you know.
Would you not want to see Anthony Michael Hall take on Michael Myers 1-on-1?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Now get his buddy from Weird Science in there too.
See, there's other casting that I think would have made a little bit
Bigger
made me
impact.
more excited. Yeah, maybe like Paul Rudd returning as an adult Tommy Doyle would have been fun.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would get me excited. I know I just said name's not going to get me excited, but Paul Rudd, you put him in anything, then
Yeah.
I'll be excited.
Yeah, that would have been a fun casting, but
Would
that movie doesn't count anymore.
Oh, that's right. They retconned it.
Yeah. So,
go ahead. No, you making that comment completely retracts what I was going to say. So we're okay.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the news. Nothing too big besides some cool Richard Linklater news. And yeah, we'll move on to our main topic, Stephen King movies. So the first thing I want to start it off with, let's just start with where we got introduced to Stephen King.
Oh, you got to go first, Brian.
Or do you guys know?
Well, yeah, you're making the old man.
I have
first.
mine if you don't have
Go
it.
for it.
Mine was I first saw a VHS cover of the original Tim Curry's It. And
Okay.
it scared me to death as a kid. Just the cover. I couldn't watch it because I was probably 6, 7 years old. And
You say that, I'm like, I remember when that was on TV, when it was, first airing.
yeah.
And then you watched it and you realized this really is not that scary.
As an adult, yes, yeah.
As a kid, though, you see
that's
that
terrifying.
You see that clown with his long claws, and
Yep.
you're just like, yeah,
Yeah,
out.
as an adult, you watch that and you're just like, well, it was made for TV, but you can't take away from the fact that Tim Curry was an absolute beast when it come to playing Pennywise, and
He was the highlight.
it it was enough that a TV movie kept Hollywood from making that into a feature-length film for 30 years. How many years has that been?
27 years.
I was close, and I was just doing it off the top of my head.
They definitely planned that out with the way it goes in the story. 'Cause
Yeah.
It comes back every 27 years. Yeah, I actually think I had a very similar experience as you did, like walking through Blockbuster and you see that clown and you see Stephen King's It. And I think as a kid I was like, no, I don't want any part of that. But like the first official movie I saw, I mean, I was kind of a young buck at the time. So 1408, I think I saw it at a friend's house. And I thought that was creepy. I didn't get to like The Shining or anything like that until I was a little older. So
1408, wow. That's your introduction to Stephen King.
Dude, I was born in 95, I was watching all the way up to 2005. I was just watching animated movies and superhero movies all the time. I hated horror movies.
Brian, what about you?
I mean,
Or do you know?
I don't know. The only one I can think of that would be an older movie that I remember seeing probably home video, like HBO kind of stuff, because obviously I wasn't going to the theater to go see that kind of stuff. It might legit be Maximum Overdrive.
It's a good one to start off with.
And maybe that thing just holds a place in my heart because it is Maximum Overdrive.
It is Maximum Overdrive. Yeah. So basically, I think we're just gonna kind of go through all the movies because we want to hit the good and the bad and the best.
You're like the good, the bad, the best. I was like the good, the ugly.
Yes. There is a lot of ugly. So we're just gonna go through I have pulled up the Rotten Tomatoes for all Stephen King movies. Yeah, they're at the bottom is obviously the Children of the Corn sequels, which have nothing to do with Stephen King. So
the studio I made a sequel that has nothing to do with the original book per se should just not be allowed to be on that list.
yeah, but they're
there.
They're there, and they have to keep the rights somehow. The first one that I have on here that I've seen is Stephen King's Thinner. Have you guys seen this movie?
Not all of it.
So
Not a minute of it.
it's not great. It's about an obese attorney who finds himself losing weight really fast and just completely just shrinks down to nothing. And
isn't it because he pisses off a gypsy woman?
yes, yeah,
It's always a gypsy woman.
It is.
I wanna piss them
Don't
off.
trust that gypsy woman.
I've
Yeah.
seen Drag Me to Hell.
it is pretty much the same plot as Drag Me to Hell. It's a fun movie. I don't think it's anything great. It's a mid-90s Stephen King movie.
based on an early book, probably doesn't help either.
I'm just gonna give a fair warning right now. Any of these older ones, like I said, I didn't start watching horror movies until a lot later because I was just the biggest baby in the world.
So
The Ring scarred me when I saw that first as my first actual.
Hey, that
movie.
girl did a damn good job as
She
Samara.
was creepy.
No, so maybe that's what you do for you figure out what your next project's gonna be. Is you just go through a bunch of Stephen, start making your Stephen King horror movie.
There you go. I'm gonna take just the worst possible Stephen King movie, and I'm gonna slightly twist it and put Justin Long in it, and that'll be my Drag Me to Hell.
Do it.
I like it.
It has to be a Children of the Corn movie.
Yes. They haven't.
Fuck that.
I thought, aren't they already rebooting that, or have they rebooted that? I don't know.
How many times?
Yeah.
Yeah, they like have to make a sequel every 3 years to keep the rights, and they're eventually going to do a proper one, is what they keep saying.
I have a story about that
Dark
one
Tower?
Right there. Yeah.
All right, that's the next one on this list. A newer film, Dark Tower, Idris Elba, Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, so that's awful. But I was working at a movie theater at the time, and you can when you work at a movie theater, obviously you can go in and you can go and watch movies whenever. So all of the people had gotten together. They had played 3 different movies, and they're like, oh, some people can go see the frickin' Emoji movie or whatever. And the only movie that looked decent that was playing for the employees was Dark Tower. And there's these super religious people in the movie. And I'm not dogging on their religion at all. I just thought it was hilarious because the movie was so bad. I walk out, and one of the girls is crying in the hallway. And I was like, the hell's her deal? And her boyfriend was holding her and everything, and then he was like, oh, there was just some moments that were too dark for her. And I was just like, are you freaking kidding me? I don't know. It's not necessarily a funny story, but I was just like, okay, this movie
If this is what's considered dark?
Exactly. I was like, okay, I don't know what's considered she saw some other horror movies, she'd be in the hospital
scarred forever,
traumatized. Yeah,
She'd be just coming out, just twitching, and
it's not even a scary movie, so that's why I didn't understand.
I mean, essentially, if memory serves me correctly, because one of these days, since I do actually have this movie, I'll get around to watching it. Is the Dark Tower series and books and whatnot is kind of his weird sci-fi interpretation of a western. Mm-hmm. So I just picture what you're saying there. I'm like, it's Stephen King, so there's an aspect of darkness to it, but other than that, I'm like, there's nothing dark that at least seems about this here.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I had no ambition to go watch this. It had some fun Stephen King nods I remember in the trailer.
Yeah,
but maybe one of these days,
after seeing the 16% in Rotten Tomatoes, that kind of turned me away.
Yeah, but maybe we need to go through and force ourselves to see why these are bad. Because who knows? Maybe these become part of the "they're so bad they're good" kind of thing.
No, the Dark Tower's so bad.
It's just bad.
There's not I don't think there's anything really saving that.
Speaking of so bad they're good, we're gonna get to Brian's Maximum Overdrive.
Yes. I don't care that this is a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. This movie's fantastic.
It's 100% in your heart.
It is absolutely 100% in my heart.
The first and only film directed by Stephen King based on an original story for the movie, and
if anybody sees that trailer, he was coked out of his mind when he did it.
I love this movie too. It's ridiculous. It has a bad Southern accent, Emilio Estevez, and things coming to life that kill people.
Hey, we get to see that Green Goblin here in a couple weeks when they go to SuperCon.
The Green Goblin head from Maximum Overdrive will be at SuperCon, and I'm excited for it.
I know. What are you most excited for? An inanimate object that's going to be sitting in the corner.
From a really bad Stephen King movie.
I don't know what I'm more excited for, that Green Goblin head or the DeLorean's coming back.
The Green Goblin head. Just because it's Maximum Overdrive.
It's Maximum Overdrive.
If you said you haven't watched this, Brandon.
No.
This is a good movie to just get a bunch of friends and sit and watch and make fun of it.
Yes.
I mean, I'm always down, especially for cheesy. I did not know Stephen King directed it.
Yep.
Yes. So when you have time, legit look up the trailer for it, because 85% of that trailer is him talking to the audience about why he's making his own movie.
So he was trying to pull an Alfred Hitchcock, when Alfred Hitchcock would be in the trailers for Psycho and stuff like that.
Except Stephen King is coked out of his mind.
He is coked out of his mind when he does that trailer. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Maximum Overdrive has some of the funniest kills ever.
Yeah, I mean, you get
looking at the steamroller.
The steamroller scene that it pisses me off for my DVD, and the
pop machine is a great one too. Yeah. The next one is also another not great film, Stephen King's Sleepwalkers.
Nowadays, with as political as some people think that do you think that they would even try to remake this movie and try to make it better?
Yep.
This is the one they would not remake, I think, now. At least in the same terms that it was. Because...
you mean they wouldn't have incest in the movie?
Yeah, it is about a mother and a son that are sleeping together and turn into, like, cat were people. And,
I'm just taking the look over here.
Yeah.
I mean, Game of Thrones was a hit, but...
Hey, Brandon's got a point here.
That is true.
There was a lot of that going on in Game of Thrones.
They could make it a mini-series or something like that on HBO, and... there you go, Sleepwalkers.
Sleepwalkers miniseries. Yes, I would watch it. This is what they. I'll pull up a picture for you guys. This is what they look like in their cat wear form.
Yes, it is a creepy ass movie.
Is that the child that the mother and the son have?
No, that's what they transform into.
Yeah, they turn into that. Yeah, it's a weird movie. I don't know if I could recommend it.
I feel uncomfortable.
As you should.
It's better than some of the ones we've already talked about. It's up to 25%, so at least a quarter of the people who reviewed it enjoyed it.
Again, it's one of those movies you get a bunch of friends together, you sit and you make fun of how terrible this movie is.
I'm just trying to think of the quarter of the people who are just like, you know what, Sleepwalkers.
Go watch that movie.
Underrated.
I approve that. Yeah, looking
here, we're convicted felons now.
Oh, they are no longer certified on this website.
Brian, you ever seen Carrie 2?
Actually, I have.
Okay, I have, unfortunately, too.
I don't necessarily... Is it a great movie? No. Do I think that they were pushing too hard to try to make it a sequel to Carrie? Because if I remember correctly, it didn't start that way. But, you know, bringing in a couple of people from the original movie and whatnot, watching the kid from Tool Time get his nuts blown off by a harpoon is great.
Tool Time?
The oldest brother, I can never remember his name.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
He plays a douchebag football player.
In Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, he also played a douchebag football
Yeah.
player.
Right? It's like he's got a stereotype.
So he's not being typecasted at all.
No, not at all. And it's got one of the Londons in it.
Yeah, Jason London's in it.
The part that sucks about those two is being identical twins. It's like, I have no fucking idea. It's like, is it Jeremy or Jason?
Yeah, Carrie 2 is not great. It's nowhere near Carrie, obviously. It's a very disposable sequel that I caught on TV once and never want to go back and watch.
I think that if they would have tried to not tie it to the original Carrie, I think it would have played differently for audiences. You know, if they would have just... Because it's not unusual to have somebody that's, you know, psychotelekinesis, blah, blah, blah in a movie and whatnot. And I think they should have just written it differently and just made it its own movie.
Pet Sematary, I haven't seen all of, but I've seen enough.
Have you seen the second one?
No.
No, there's no reason
Like
to see the second.
or the second?
No, that was the sequel to the original.
Has Edward Furlong and Clancy Brown in it.
I like how they spelled out too on the title, just to make it different.
I've seen bits and pieces of Needful Things. Dreamcatcher is just...
I've seen parts of Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher had a lot of opportunity to be good because it had a good, solid cast. Donnie Wahlberg is great in it, and it's just that it doesn't. I don't know if it's just because it's a convoluted story that does not translate well. But I mean, you're looking just right there. I mean, Damian Lewis, Thomas Jane, like I said, it's got Donnie Wahlberg, Jason Lee. I mean, obviously not like 100% A-list, whatnot, but you know, for an ensemble cast, I think they had a decent cast in there. But it didn't quite. It's not something where after I got done with it, I'm like, God, I need to see this again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I caught it on the Sci-Fi Channel. Like, I just saw parts of it, and I mean, it did actually look kind of creepy.
Right.
I know my friend is like a really big fan of it. I mean,
Dreamcatcher, the book and the movie, I think are both of those it's either a love or hate relationship. There's no in between. I'm probably in between because I just don't get where they were going with it.
And that's the biggest problem. Like, if a movie doesn't have any sense of direction, then it can have a good concept, but no one's going to care.
The next one I see on here that I just watched was Creepshow 2. and this is based off some short stories from Stephen King. It's a anthology film, 3 short stories, kind of loosely connected with this animated sequence that is connecting all the stories together that this kid reads from the Creepshow comic books within the movie. I can't really recommend it, but I'll recommend the second segment, which is called The Raft. It's about a group of teenagers who swim out to the middle of a lake and get on a raft. But there's this giant pile of goo that if you fall into it, like just completely disintegrates your body. And yeah, it has great gore effects in it, but
don't fall into the goo. Check.
Don't fall in the goo. It's a fun, tense little segment within this movie, but I think the other 2 are pretty lackluster, especially compared to the first Creepshow.
Does Stephen King actually like any of these movies, like the ones that we've mentioned so far?
I think the only one he has real problems with is the Shining.
The Shining. He has a very hate relationship for Kubrick for that movie.
I know that whole story. Like, have you guys ever seen like well, we'll get to Shining. Never mind.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
I mean, and also too, I mean, you figure there's got to be a good chunk of them where he must have some sort of okayness to it, because not only is he obviously, given his rights to make the movie, but is actually appears in several of his movies.
Yeah. Creepshow, he had a big part in making those. And Brian,
the Lawnmower Man.
The Lawnmower Man. Tell us about the Lawnmower Man.
The one thing about this is that it is definitely in the very early stages of when us human beings started playing with virtual reality. And because what it is the Lawnmower Man is Jeff Fahey. I had to think about who it was. Jeff Fahey and Pierce Brosnan. So Jeff Fahey plays like the neighborhood guy. He's mentally handicapped, and he's an adult. He just basically he goes to mows people's lawns. He's just this good, just gentle guy and whatnot. And Pierce Brosnan is some sort of doctor person that is trying to come up with a process to be able to help cure different things, like when it comes to the brain. And he's got this virtual reality contraption thing that he's built that he gives Jeff Fahey's character.
What year was this made?
92. So he to the point where he starts getting smarter, and he no longer has his disability. He actually starts to transcend the intelligence. It almost gets into kind of like the Lucy type of thing, where to the point where he basically becomes the entity itself, and it gets really dark. But yeah, I mean, is it great? No. I would love to see if they ever decided to rehash some of his older movies, being as how far we've come in, over 30 years of technology, what this would look like nowadays.
If they rehash the Lawnmower Man, audiences are going to be like, what Marvel hero is he? How is he connected?
How did we get him in the MCU?
Exactly.
Where's Doctor Strange?
It looks like something that would appear in like a Doctor Strange universe, though.
Definitely.
From what you're telling me.
Yeah, I mean, just with some of the effects that they try to pull off in that movie, like I said, really early stages of VR. I think if you went like the Doctor Strange, just the weird like Inception type of reality.
Yeah.
In today's, they try to make that movie. I think it would hold up so much better.
Yeah, I've never seen The Lawnmower Man.
Do it.
I know, I should. I've heard fun things about it.
Like I said, it's not great, but it's a good watch.
Yeah, the next one on here I see Children of the Corn. It is a terrible, cheesy film, but I love it. It's about these kids who, in this small town in Nebraska, who basically they just kill their entire parents and family within the confines of this small community, in order to follow a slightly creepy child.
Oh, he's freaking disturbing. Is it Owen, I think is?
No, Isaac.
Isaac, thank you. I knew it started with a vowel.
Yeah. Children of the Corn, it's nothing great, but I think it's a lot of fun.
Children of the Corn is one of those movies where, you made the references that whatever studio or company, whatever that owns the rights, basically throws out a shit sequel so they can just keep holding on to the rights. This is one of those ones where I legit wish that they would just, like, stop So the rights can get reverted back, and somebody good can actually make a good, solid movie.
This sounds like something that would be legitimately terrifying. And I remember being at a friend's house when I was younger, and they said, "Hey, let's watch Children of the Corn." And I didn't see like a trailer or a poster or anything for it because it was on TV. And they just told me the premise of it, and me being like scared of movies at the time, thought that sounded terrifying.
I mean, the premise is absolutely terrifying. I mean, I remember as a child trying to get through or whatever. As a kid in '84, granted, I was not watching this in '84, but even a few years later and whatnot, for a child, it's a very terrifying movie. As an adult, you're like, this thing could be so much better.
I think this is a movie that after showing the success that like It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2 will eventually have, is in that this movie needs to get a remake as soon as possible.
You have to bring me up to date. How did the new Pet Sematary do in theaters?
Brian, I'll let you look that. I think it did all right.
Brian, do your research over there, please.
Yeah. I think it did fine. It wasn't anything.
It wasn't it quality.
Yeah,
it wasn't it money.
It money, no. Children of the Corn has a young Linda Hamilton in the lead as well, so I think that's always fun. But yeah, the character of Isaac, the preacher to all these kids, he's really creepy. It also helps that he's also 27 years old when he's filming this, and he just had a disease or something that made him look a lot younger than he was. But him leading all these kids is really creepy.
Mm-hmm. So $21 million budget, globally made 112. So not horrible, but I mean, only 54 million domestically.
Only reason I ask is because if that did really well, then they're gonna start just thinking, oh yeah, Stephen King, let's just remake all of his stuff. And
let's start with The Dark Tower, make a better one.
Even though they came out 2 years ago.
Yeah. I'm ready for a Children of the Corn remake, a proper remake.
Well,
that'd be good.
And that's just what I'm saying but are we still stuck in the rights living hell of getting corny's back ass sequels because they don't want to get rid of it? They don't want to give up. It
probably is. Yeah, I think Sci-Fi Channel made the last one.
God damn it, Steven! Figure out a way to get your rights back.
Yeah. Please. Brian, have you ever seen Firestarter?
Please tell me you have.
I have not seen Firestarter. No.
Firestarter is probably one. I mean, as you look at this here, this is young Drew Barrymore. This is I am legit. I mean, it's again not a great movie, but I'm actually kind of legit surprised that it has a low rating like 35.
We're still in the 35.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
I feel like there's more bad Stephen King movies than there are good.
It's because they're not. They need to find the right people to understand his vision. Stephen King is definitely one of those ones where it's he has a certain way about him, and I could certainly see why not everybody's going to understand that vision. That would be kind of the one of the things where I would wish that these kind of movies would have like when Robert Rodriguez did Sin City. He's I need to have Frank Miller there. He needs to be the co-director because he understands the character and the stuff that he wrote. He can help me figure out how to make the better vision. No, I mean, prior to this here, you're looking at 1984. So that, around that same time frame, you get Drew Barrymore in Firestarter, where she plays a little hellion that is literally setting the world on fire. And then she plays, Elliot's little sister in E.T. You're going from complete opposites, and Drew Barrymore is one of those ones where you're just she could have been the child star that went completely half-ass bonkers and whatnot, and actually grew up to be at least a legitimate individual.
She did marry Tom Green.
Yeah, even she admits that was a mistake.
This has always been one of those Stephen King movies I've always wanted to see, just never got around to. Brian, I know this next one holds a special place in your heart.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, though, too. Again, not great, but definitely worth a watch, especially if you're talking...
Which movie is that, Brian?
Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
I was talking about this one next, too.
Oh, that one, too? Well, I've seen that one, too. I like that one. I don't care what you say. Fuck you. No, Tales from the Dark Side is an anthology style, kind of like Tales from the Crypt kind of thing. One of the ones that I remember mostly about this is Christian Slater bringing a mummy back to life, and the mummy is trying to kill everybody. At one point, I remember the mummy is trying to essentially get body parts so he can come back to life fully, and I remember him taking a clothes hanger, and so what the mummy does is that in the ways that the person gets mummified back in like ancient Egypt, like how they get wrapped in the things, how they get like their intestines removed and stuff like that. He takes a coat hanger and removes someone's brain through their nose.
Fascinating.
It is creepy.
That's creativity at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen this.
I enjoy it because of how bad it is.
I have literally never heard of this movie.
I want to say I started it because is the Mummy segment the first one in the movie?
I think so.
Okay, I think I started it and I didn't finish it after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is Steve Buscemi in that first segment, like you said?
Oh, well, that's good.
I don't remember. I think so. I think I started watching that and I couldn't finish it.
I feel so dumb for not even not even hearing about this movie. I mean, that's one
again,
thing
it came out 5 years before you did.
It's one thing to not see a movie, but to not even know of its existence.
Brian, let's move on to your Shining miniseries quick. Why do you love it?
Why do I love it?
Yes.
Because there's number one, I have a love-hate relationship for the Kubrick one.
Really?
As much as I
we're gonna get into a good discussion.
My issue with some movies, whatever, when they're being adapted to film and whatnot, is, I understand that there's going to be some there's going to be some adjust for interpretation and artistic license. Maybe there's certain things they can and cannot do because of rights, whatever the case is. Unfortunately, having not read The Shining all the way through, is that my issue with the Kubrick version of The Shining is kind of in the same lines of what Stephen King's issue is with it. Is there's parts about it that should not be, that it doesn't take place the way it's supposed to, and this TV miniseries holds more to what the book actually has in it, and the way it's written, and the way the characters are developed is one of the reasons why I like this movie. And I grew up watching Wings, and I like seeing Steven Weber completely turn Jack Nicholson in this movie.
I can respect that, you wanted to stick to the source material, and
right?
I'm assuming that's the biggest reason why Stephen King has a problem with the movie. But with the series, I mean, I have heard not great things about it, and I think that's a testament to why maybe the movie holds up so much more than the series does, is because, you get any director behind there, they're always going to have a different interpretation, but Kubrick's was obviously something that has still stuck with people. Just because you stick with the source material doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good.
Right.
Because there are certain things that just transfer better over in book form, in comic book. I mean, look at Watchmen. That's something that they were, the writer said, this would never be able to be filmed. And granted, they did film it, but even though it's stuck so close to source material, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they should have done.
I think the TV series does a better job in showing the supernatural aspect of The Shining to the kid than what they do in the Kubrick one. Okay. Because to the point where in this one here, the actual the hedges actually come to life.
But see,
in terrible special effects.
Well, yes, the special effects are not great,
are horrendous.
But I mean, to the point where the boy is able to communicate to the old man in Florida to the point where he knows that he needs to come back. I think they do a better job of it, him portraying The Shining than. But
you see, if with what Kubrick, and just with Kubrick's style, if you would have had moving hedges like that, even in, I can't picture that in Kubrick's version. That might have been in the book,
right? Which it was.
Yeah, and see,
But yeah, in the Kubrick, I think based on the age. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they didn't have it, because there's, for when he did his version, that wasn't even a thing. We can't put this in the movie because it is not logistically possible.
Mm-hmm. They could have done practical effects.
Yeah. I mean,
especially with during the people that were around at that time. Yeah, it could have been done. This miniseries is terrible.
I could just see
maybe that's because I love the Kubrick version, but I've seen the miniseries once. It's way too long. I think what's the actor's name?
Steven Weber.
Yeah, he's terrible in this. He's really bad. I think the kid isn't great as well, especially if you compare one to the other.
I just keep looking over your reaction when
Yeah,
you're talking the whole
it's-
time, and you just kept looking over and just smirking like, no.
It's not great. I understand that it is a much better adaptation of the King novel, but I don't think it translates to film well that way. And we'll get to the Kubrick version.
Granted, I've never seen Brian. I've never seen the miniseries, but just from what I've heard of it and the little clips I've seen, did not look like it stood up.
So, Brian, you said you own one version of The Shining. Which version is that?
The one we've been talking about.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Why? Do you prefer this version better?
No, I just probably never got around to actually buying the Kubrick one either, though.
Okay. Let's move on.
Just because I have a love-hate relationship doesn't say that I don't appreciate what he was trying to do.
It's only been out for almost like 40, 50 years.
There's a lot of movies that I wish I had and whatnot.
Secret Window. Anyone seen Secret Window? I
did see Secret Window. This is finally something I can talk about.
There you go.
I saw it a long time ago, and this was one of the, again, I was younger, but I just remember not even recognizing Johnny Depp. Every movie I'd seen him in, like, he was always in weird makeup, he was always in something different. So seeing him as just himself was very weird to me as a young boy. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. I mean, from what I remember of it, I don't think it's a terrible movie. This is something I think would be interesting to adapt, like, into a newer version. Even though I was just complaining about remakes and everything like that.
It's only 15 years old. We still have a few. No.
But I mean, I feel like if you had a different, I think the story premise is interesting.
Well, yeah. I mean, for the sake of a man who's kind of like spiraling downhill the way this does, I think Johnny Depp did a pretty decent job. I mean, it's not quite at 50%, but we're getting there.
We're getting to better movies.
It
yes.
by all means is not one of Johnny Depp's best. No. But again, it's one of those ones where you look at like the cast that they've got in it, and it's not like it's a horrible cast. At that point, is it direction? Is it the written dialogue? What is it that's not quite hitting the mark?
I forgot what the twist ending was. I'm trying to remember.
It was him.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that seems very simple, but like I said, it's been a while since I've seen this.
I know, and that's one thing I did appreciate about it, being that I had never read the book to this one here. To get to the end, you're just like, then when you realize that the man that he's been trying to figure out who's doing all this is himself, and it's just like, I appreciate the fact that I think they did a good job on like keeping you to figuring that out.
Who directed this?
David Koepp.
This would have been a really good movie at the time for M. Night Shyamalan, I think, to take on.
Ooh,
maybe that's just
I would love to see an M. Night Stephen King crossover. That'd be cool.
With the hit or miss that is M. Night Shyamalan, that could be either really, really good or really, really bad.
It'll be entertaining either way.
But I think if you have the source material there already, I think M. Night can do a really good job. Because I think sometimes his problem is he just gets too much creative freedom with his own creativity. And,
yes.
Like with his own imagination, and he just goes too out there.
But then we get Last Airbender.
Well, I think, like I said, I think M. Night is extremely talented. I think The Sixth Sense is one of the greatest movies of all time. I just think he needs the right people telling him.
He needs a good editor.
Exactly. He just needs someone pumping the brakes, and I think if you got like the decent producers on a project like this.
All right, Stephen King's Silver Bullet.
Yes.
Yes.
Nope. No?
I've not seen it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it's based off of
his novella Cycle of the Werewolf.
Thank you. I was going to say I couldn't remember the name of the novella.
Yeah, stars Corey Haim, Gary Busey.
Gary Busey before he went psychotic.
Before he went crazy, yes.
Yes. I do highly recommend, if you have not seen it, obviously here, Brandon, definitely do.
Okay.
Call me slightly biased, but you figure when you're talking about the 80s and whatnot, that was like the time of the Coreys. Like everything, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman. This is one of the few where they're not both in the same movie. I honestly legit enjoy this for as corny as it is for an 80s flick. I mean, the special effects are a little not great.
I like the look of the werewolf. I think it's cool. The best is this right here.
Oh, his
souped up motorcycle Silver Bullet.
Yes,
it's fantastic.
Well, yeah. you gotta have a cool ass ride when you have no legs to walk with.
Yeah. So basically, Corey Haim's character, he's in a wheelchair throughout the film, and I believe it's like a pastor or someone like that is the werewolf.
Yes.
And begins to terrorize him, his sister, and Gary Busey, who plays his uncle. And yeah, this is one of my favorite werewolf movies of all time, and I think it's a really fun, underrated Stephen King film. And honestly, looking at the few Corey Haim movies, this might be my favorite that I've seen, at least, even more than Lost Boys.
You never saw License to Drive.
I haven't seen License to Drive.
When I was binging all these Stephen King movies recently, I should have binged that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. It's a fun Friday night, midnight movie.
Yeah. And it's one of those ones where I think part of the score is based on the fact that it was made too soon.
Yeah, I could see it, and I could see a remake happening for this. I think I would be into that. Let's move on to whatever we want to talk about next. Anyone?
Haven't seen that one. And it's been forever since I've seen The Langoliers.
I have two right here that we can jump into.
The original Pet Sematary.
The original Pet Sematary. Directed by Mary Lambert, based on the Stephen King novel Pet Sematary.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
That is what we're talking about. And it's basically about
Pet Sematary.
No, we're talking about Stephen King. What?
It's about a family that moves to this countryside that is near a pet cemetery where if you bury things, they will come back to life.
Such a great concept.
It is, and I think this is the superior version of that story. And
you do realize that we haven't come across the other one yet.
I
which
understand
means it's higher
that.
on the rank of the list.
And I don't understand that.
Opinion.
This is my opinion, man.
Well,
Yeah,
that's just like
look at the look you gave me for The Shining.
yeah, the
Yeah.
series. Get out of here.
I think you're more in the minority on that one than I am on this.
Yeah.
Fred Gwynn in this movie, who plays the neighbor, is fantastic in this movie. And I love Pet Sematary. It's one of those horror films that I could constantly rewatch. It's endlessly rewatchable for me. Who's the? I can't remember the little kid's name, the young actor that plays him, but it's Gage. He's creepy at the end of this movie. He's terrifying. Him taking a big old bite out of Fred Gwynn at the end is just disturbing. I don't know. I love Pet Sematary, and I know I'm in the minority. And
No,
Gage
you're not.
Creed.
I know a lot of people who are really into the.
who was the
original.
actor that played Gage?
Gage Creed. Sorry. Michael Hughes.
Yes, and he was
Nico.
also in New Nightmare and Full House.
Such different projects.
Yeah.
And he was in Kindergarten Cop.
Yep.
Mercury Rising.
Boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. That was his line. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying like, okay to that fact. I did know what you were saying. Okay. The kid who said the line.
Yeah. Anyone else seen Pet Sematary?
It's been a long, long time. Probably longer than he's been alive.
Let's just keep making the jokes
That's all right. You two are closer than I
of
am.
my
so.
late birth.
I usually am the butt of those jokes, so it's okay that you're here.
Well, it's a good thing I'm included in the team now.
Yes,
Hopefully.
definitely.
I don't got to go through some weird initiation. I hope.
This is the weird initiation.
Oh.
Stephen King movies.
Great.
Please tell me what you thought of a Carrie remake.
Who you talking to me?
Yes,
It's
you.
terrible. Comparing, like, you have to compare it because it's the exact same story, and I don't think this one holds up. Even this movie came out in 2013. What's the Carrie you think of? The Sissy Spacek version. Like,
I do think that casting-wise, Chloe Grace Moretz, especially at the time, I think
She was hot right off of like Kick-Ass and everything like that.
Yeah.
she's a little older. I think. Well, maybe Kick-Ass 2. There's probably
Yeah.
a Kick-Ass 2. But yeah, I think that she was really good casting. I think that just with the premise alone, like okay, it could be good, but Carrie's already such a
Iconic.
Yeah, exactly. If you're gonna remake something, you want to remake something like a Children of the Corn. You don't want to remake something like
that's
Carrie.
already perfect.
You want to try to go up, not take up, and hopefully try to get more.
Even with I'll wait till we get to the next one here in a bit.
Is it this one? Stephen
Yeah.
King's It?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. See, like that's something that has a following, but it clearly could use an upgrade.
It needed a remake.
Carrie is not one of those movies that needs an upgrade, in my opinion.
Stephen King's It, I think, I just watched this like last Halloween again, and the first half I think holds up relatively all right. The second half with the adults is
so
terrible.
Bad. It is so bad.
It is really bad. John Ritter is I love John Ritter, but him in that second half, he's not great.
Seth Green.
Seth Green is fun in the first. Like I said, the stuff with the kids is great.
I'm actually terrified, not of the movie, but of seeing it Chapter 2, because I'm afraid that maybe it's just the source material, that maybe the adult story just transfers better in the book and won't transfer well over into film, because I agree with you. The adults in the original It were just so bad, and the story was so boring, and it just didn't feel like it connected well at all with the kids version.
I don't know if it's just for me, for the sake of what I remember is, I other than John Ritter, the only one that I even remotely remember as the adults is Harry Anderson, which
played adult Richie.
Well, yeah, but he's the guy from Night Court. Like, that's the only thing I know him from. And it's like, maybe they didn't do well enough of an A-list cast to help draw.
It's also a TV movie. You can't get.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Whatnot.
For who they got for the adults, it's fine. At least
Tim Curry.
Yeah, Tim Curry is still fantastic in this movie. I think that is one element that will hold up forever.
I missed out on so much of it. I feel like so many of his projects, because I saw Rocky Horror Picture Show and I was like, damn, this guy is just so committed and so talented. And yeah, without him in this, the kid stuff would have fallen flat too, yeah. I think.
There's a great story when one of the first things they shot was the scene with him and Georgie, and he's in the sewer. Mm-hmm. And the kid that plays Georgie is like, Tim, you're scaring me.
Oh, yeah,
and he's still using the voice. He's like, that's what I'm supposed to do, kid. Yeah, that opening is still terrifying to me. I think, honestly, between the two clowns and It, I still find this one scarier.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think
because he looks like a normal clown. He's not trying too hard to be creepy. He's just creepy.
Completely agree with you, because there's something about just, I don't know. It seems so hokey, but yeah, he really is not trying that hard. And there's just something unsettling where when you see Bill Skarsgård's, automatically, look at his eyes.
He's creepy already.
Evil.
Yeah.
This apt pupil, I think a 53% is underrating this movie. My draw to this movie actually was the casting of Ian McKellen and Brad Renfro. Brad Renfro, I think it's only a few years later after he passed away. This is just before he started, when they did X-Men to bring him into being Magneto and whatnot. It's less horror, it's more of the crime drama thriller type of thing. The Brad Renfro plays a very curious kid. He's got this neighbor that nobody talks to, nobody sees. He just stays locked up in his house and whatnot to go to figure out that he is an old Nazi general kind of thing and whatnot. And he's just trying to be his own, just trying to stay out of everybody's way. And he basically blackmails the guy into trying to tell him about all these war crimes and all these things that he did, to the point where it really just starts to go downhill, and it gets very bad things happen.
Bad things happen.
Yes. For what everybody's so used to Ian McKellen nowadays, between X-Men and the Lord of the Rings and just all of these things, all these happy things everybody's so used to seeing Ian McKellen in. I think this is a good follow-up for someone to watch, to see him on a more of a darker side.
Does this movie, is it more darker because of who made this movie?
Why? Who made it?
Bryan Singer.
Oh shit!
Does that make the movie a little darker?
Maybe a little bit.
Okay.
I legit forgot that was a Singer movie, because this.
I thought you were hinting towards that when you brought up X-Men, because he would do X-Men 2 years later with Ian McKellen.
1 year later, 99.
Yeah.
X-Men came out in 2000. Said X-Men came out in 2000.
Mm.
But yes, same thing. His next movie would have been X-Men.
Yeah.
But yeah. I've never seen it. I've heard decent things about it. I want to see it now.
Does that make The Usual Suspects an even harder movie to watch?
Yeah. It's the 1-2 combo of Bryan Singer.
Director and actor controversy.
Oof. Yep.
All right. We ready to move on then?
Yes.
To Cujo.
Cujo. Yeah, because I've never seen The Dark App.
We talked about Cujo when we did our best pets in movies.
His Cujo's my favorite.
Yeah.
I think first
look
fresh.
at
It's the first fresh.
Yeah.
first one that is not rotten.
I think we put Cujo at like number 1.
Well, no, I mean,
I don't
why,
remember.
Why would you not want to put that wonderful dog, Siberian Husky, up at the top of the list?
This killer dog, yeah. I think it's I think it's still a fun movie. Very much a Stephen King movie from the 80s. Like, it still holds a special place. Dee Wallace is really good in this movie as the mom. And the second half, with when it does become the mom and son locked in the car versus the dog, I think is really strong.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's
Very tense.
So much suspense in just that little bit. That should be such a. It could have been just a lackluster scene that you just hold so much terror.
Brandon, have you ever watched Cujo?
I was really hoping you wouldn't ask. No, I have not.
It's a fun watch. I recommend it. Brian.
Yes.
This one's you.
This one's me, the Running Man.
The Running Man.
Okay, I guess I didn't realize where exactly it was going to fall on the list in terms of ratings. I'm actually super impressed by that, and that's where I'm kind of thrown back a little bit here because we have it's certified fresh, or not certified fresh, but I mean it's just that it's a fresh 64%, and the only connection to the Stephen King story that this thing even remotely has is the title and 2 character names. Otherwise, the entire premise of the movie is completely nothing that is like the book. Which
Listen, you haven't seen it, Casey.
I have not.
I enjoy the movie. I enjoy the book. If you compare the books to the movies, there's no comparison.
It's apples and oranges.
Apples and hand grenades.
Well, even looking at the poster, pretty much all the posters say Stephen King's whatever. This one's just Schwarzenegger, Running Man.
Yep.
So it's should we move on? We can talk about it in the Schwarzenegger episode.
The Schwarzenegger.
Cat's Eye. Anyone seen Cat's Eye?
Negative goes right.
Been very many years. Hey, look at that! It's Drew Barrymore again.
I have
James
not.
Woods.
I need to get on my Drew Barrymore Stephen King watch.
I think there's only like the 2.
The 2, but I need to watch. Christine, John Carpenter's Christine. Not one of the best Carpenter films and not one of the best King films. I think it's a fun film about a killer car.
Not the worst of either one of these 2 either.
Yeah.
It's so funny when you say some of the premises of these movies. It's the lawnmower man, a killer car. It's just like, what? But then I feel like if you have the right people behind it, you can pull anything off.
Stephen King did a lot of cocaine.
I enjoy Christine.
I do too. I think it's a fun horror film. It's a good. There's not a lot that'll actually scare you.
Right.
But it's actually like just a fun premise about a killer car.
Maybe this is why he wanted to do Maximum Overdrive. He's like, Christine did really good. Maybe I can make another movie where cars come to life and inanimate objects come to life, and I can do really good and do it on my own.
Stephen King is no John Carpenter as a director, though.
How do you go to John Carpenter and go, hey, you know what? We want you to make a movie about a car that comes to life.
See, and that's one of the reasons it's one of the lesser Carpenter films for me, because it's not an original idea from him. I love his original concepts, and I think it's a fun adaptation. It's nothing special from Carpenter, though.
No.
Creepshow is a lot of fun. Stephen King gets an entire segment where he's the only character in it, pretty much.
How the hell is that? We have a particular segment, and I'm just going to be the only part about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're talking George Romero, though, I mean, again, you're kind of following suit with John Carpenter, where it's George Romero doing something that is not something he created. Like, he's obviously most known for his Night of the Living Dead series.
Yeah. Him and King worked heavily on this together, though it's based on King wrote it, but a lot of the stories came from both of them. The story with Stephen King is a lot of fun. He plays this redneck farmer that has a meteor land in his backyard, and it eventually turns him into like this plant-human hybrid. Stephen King is fantastic.
I'm so glad that thing was closed.
I know, me too. Stephen King is great.
That's the end of the podcast.
And then there's a segment with Leslie Nielsen and damn it, what's the guy's name from that show? Cheers.
Ted Danson?
Yes, with Ted Danson.
Like he's right there next to Ed Harris.
Okay. That segment is great. Leslie Nielsen is terrifying. It's before he did Naked Gun, so he's still in that scary version of Leslie Nielsen. And yeah, I would recommend this a lot more than I would
I'm,
second one.
I'm intrigued by it just by the simple fact that you use Leslie Nielsen and terrifying in the same sentence.
Yeah,
because that's what not anybody. He's not known for that.
Yeah, he's scary. He literally buries Ted Danson alive in sand.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be a thing that Stephen King likes to do too in regards to burying people alive.
Casey, how good does it feel to not be like the young person where you're getting made fun of now, and you're just like, you keep looking over at me every time you say an older movie, and you're like, no.
Do you know that one? To be fair, most of these are horror movies, and that's pretty much all I watch. So that's
gotcha.
Okay.
And see, like, I didn't get into horror movies until a lot later in my life. So
yeah. The next, The Mist. Great
ending. Love the ending.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it?
I've never seen The Mist. Yeah.
Brian?
I have seen The Mist. It's actually, I would have to agree. It's a very good. My understanding, because I've never read the book, is the ending does alter from the ending from the book.
I'm so glad it does.
And King has said that he prefers this ending to his.
And when it's one of those things, you get to the end, and maybe that's why they did do it the way they did, the way they end the movie. You have this sense of just your heart literally falls into your stomach, and you're like, oh, they finally and I think that literally was an amazing ending to such a weird movie.
It's not an ending that, especially in 2007.
Yeah,
when it made that, it was common. I feel like I don't look at The Mist like a horror movie. I look at it just kind of like a suspense.
Yes.
Thriller, I guess. And with those kind of movies, you don't expect that kind of tragic ending. And I don't know. I love the twist. I thought it was great.
All right, let's move on.
I kind of wish the mom would have made it though.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just such a negative Nancy here. I don't know, but I just love when movies go. Think out of the box, I guess, and do ambitious things, and end in ways that you wouldn't expect it to. And I was just, actually just telling my girlfriend, I was like, I will think that Infinity War is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. I actually think I like it better than The Dark Knight, just because of how they ended it. And granted, yes, Dark Knight ends, kind of grim too, but I don't know. I just love crazy endings. That makes sense.
Right.
All right, 1408.
I like how you went right past The Stand.
Has anyone watched the Stand miniseries? I haven't.
Well, it's been a really long time. I think probably when I watched it is when it was on TV.
1408 creeped me out when I was a kid. A lot.
Yeah, I've never seen 1408
really?
Either. Yeah.
Now we're getting
it's the newer King movies that I haven't seen.
Now we're getting to...
now we can flip the script a little bit.
There we go, finally.
Yeah. Well, what about 1408?
What's that?
What about 1408? What did you like about it?
John Cusack is amazing in it, personally, I think. And I was actually just kind of going over some of the other lines that were said in it. And Samuel Jackson, I normally wouldn't think would hold up in a movie like this, but his chemistry with Samuel Jackson really holds this movie together. And I guess it was based off a short story. And the short story, half of it is just these two characters talking. So their chemistry in the movie was so important, and I think that these two actors nailed it. And there's one piece of dialogue where they're in the elevator, and he's like, "Oh, so what are some other things that happen in the hotel?" And he's like, "Oh, well, there's this girl, because no one lasts an hour. There's this girl in the bathroom," and he's like, "Oh, let me guess, she died," because he's skeptical of all this paranormal stuff. And he's like, "No, she went blind. She gouged her eyes out with a pair of scissors and was laughing hysterically." And it's just one of those things that instantly makes everything unsettling. And it's just more about what this guy is going through and, his history, and the fact that it just starts out with them, no backstory really of John Cusack, and you kind of have to learn everything about him while he's in this hotel going crazy.
And some of the shit that he goes through in that hotel room are... when it turns into the living refrigerator.
Yep.
And
when he has to scale the building and he's trying to get back into the room.
When he realizes he can't get out. Mm-hmm. You bring up an interesting thought, and that's why I want to pull up some of the numbers on this thing here, is you're talking about the chemistry that those two have. And it's at that point, is it the story? Is it the actors? Whatever the case is, because this is not the first Stephen King movie they've done together. And
which other one did they do?
Isn't the only. It is the first one.
It's the first one, but not the only.
Okay.
A couple years ago, they did Cell.
Never saw it.
And 12% on Rotten Tomatoes.
12%.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's where it's like, do you look at that and go, that is that to the point where it probably didn't, either it didn't make the list or it's been up there where the you went right by over it.
There, I think it's got to be direction.
Right.
And I think, definitely the script. John Cusack just carries the movie, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. I can't argue that at all. I mean, you get to the point where he makes it out of there, and you're like, "That's not how I expected it to end."
Mm-hmm. There's like 3 different endings. I think I've only seen one of the alternate endings, but there's like a lot of different ways that they were going to end this movie.
God, maybe I have to go see if there's like an iTunes or something where I can see these alternate endings and whatnot.
There's one that's really depressing, and there's one that's really happy, and there's just I don't know. I think it's great.
Another great Stephen King film, The Green Mile.
I cry every time.
I just watched this for the first time this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Literally 20 years later.
I was also 5 when this came out, Brian. But
yeah, but this isn't your typical like Stephen King where you could have easily had watched this when you were 10 and not like been scared out of your gourd. This is one of those few like Stephen Kings that you're like, holy shit, I didn't realize this was a Stephen King story.
Yeah, this movie is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Every performance in it is top notch. Tom Hanks is great.
Sam
Rockwell is a killer in this movie.
Oh yeah, I mean when the books first started coming out with this thing, I was super impressed because it was something that Stephen King had never done before in terms of writing, and it was something that he was trying to bring back an old format for the book, because the book came out in 6 pieces in a serial form where you didn't know, you'd get to the end of it and you didn't know when the next serial was going to be coming out. You didn't know where it was going and whatnot. Like, you literally had to read this book over the course of like a couple of years, and the fact that, again, it's not a typical Stephen King. I mean, at one point would you be like, oh, Stephen King and Tom Hanks.
You're probably wondering, though, people who are waiting for those to come out are probably like, when's the monster coming? Because it's a Stephen King. Like, that sounds a little disappointing to me.
Yeah.
The only like Stephen King trope that's really in this is the one he relies on quite a bit, is the magical black man. It's about the only thing that is like the Stephen King trope that follows into this, but I think it works perfectly in this movie.
Michael Clark Duncan was a freaking amazing. This movie just made him.
Yeah, this is his best performance, and he is.
What, not Sin City?
No, not Sin City. I think he is the best in this movie out of everyone in it. Like, his character is heartbreaking, and every time, like Brandon, you said you cry every time you watch it, and the first time I watch it, that ending with him.
I feel like if you don't tear up a little bit, you just have no soul.
Oh, especially out of Michael Clark Duncan, because you look at this man who, could probably break me in half. He's got like the biggest heart of like any person in Hollywood, and just has that range. I mean, he could have just been like, I'm going to play the badass thug in everything, and they would have cast him to do so. But no, he's like, I'm going to do something with heart. I'm going to do something where it shows my softer side, like between that and like Armageddon, for example. To watch Michael Clark Duncan cry, you're just like, God, now I want to cry. The big tough man is soft.
I think you might be the only person that's ever compared Armageddon to The Green Mile.
I was just gonna say, I was like, that's why I laughed a little. I was like, all right, that's a comparison.
Well, I'm not comparing the movies. Yes. I'm comparing his characters within the movies.
Another great performance in this is Doug Hutchinson. He plays Percy, one of the guards. He's such a slimy little shit.
He's the asshole one, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which actor? He's in Disturbia. Who's the actor? White hair.
Oh,
he's a guard.
David Morse.
Yes.
Yeah.
David Morse. He was also
He's really good in this movie. Yeah, everyone in this movie is really good.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's not one bad performance in this movie.
No, I don't think so. I would have to agree with that.
Even the rats killed it.
Literally.
We'll give that one to the trainers.
Yeah.
All right. Should we move on from The Green Mile? One of the best Stephen King movies.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyone seen Dolores Claiborne?
Nope. And I'm very glad that no one else has, because I was
I was gonna say, I think I've only seen bits and pieces of it, and that would have been literally a couple. Well, it's 25 years old.
Second, Kathy Bates, Stephen King.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things.
Yeah,
about
but
it.
you realize that we're go back up a second here. So we're at Dolores Claiborne at 83. We're into the certified fresh category, and we haven't even hit Misery yet.
There was some before here too.
No,
Green Mile 1408 was certified fresh.
Well, that's look at
That's
that.
such a weird thing.
Well,
Whatever.
No, but that doesn't even make sense. What I was going to say is if you got one that's at 80 that's not and 79 that is, somebody needs to fix their fucking
Why
logos.
Rotten Tomatoes is not the end all be all of everything.
Touche, sales.
This is just the easiest way to find.
Film is all subjective.
Yes. Let's move on to Stephen King's It.
This needs to be higher up the list.
I love it.
I think it's right at the right spot in the top 10. Yeah. This cast again kills it. These kids are great. The chemistry they have is perfect. And Bill Skarsgård, when this movie came out in 2017, I thought he should have got Best Supporting Actor nom.
I won't start watching the Oscars again, honestly, until they start giving more notice. Like, I know they have talk of like Joaquin Phoenix getting some Oscar nominations for the Joker this year. But yeah, Bill Skarsgård is phenomenal in this role. Like, yeah, I know you were saying, or wait, was it you? You said that Tim Curry was more terrifying because he felt like an actual clown. But just the like subtle nuances. Like, I'm looking at the poster you have of him right here. Like, the subtle nuances he has with his eyes. Like the fact that he's always drooling because he's always just like hungry for these children. Yeah. Just like the crazy things he does, and when he's laughing with Georgie and then just all of a sudden stops.
Mm-hmm. And just like growls at him.
Yeah, it looks in like a piece of meat. It's just like all those little things that he does makes this Pennywise its own unique thing. But I think there's a reason why so many people, gravitate towards it and why it's such a big success.
I legit look at Bill Skarsgård and, I wonder what would have happened if it hadn't gone through development hell and we would have gotten the original cast of Pennywise and seen how that would have been different.
Who was originally cast?
Will Poulter.
Wow.
Right. I mean, and, prior when he got cast, the only thing I knew him in from was We're the Millers. Mm-hmm. And, when they said Bill Skarsgård, I'm like, I have no idea who that is. Maybe that's for the best.
Yep.
Once I figured out who he was related to, it makes a whole lot more sense.
I feel like you need to have more of an unknown actor to play a role like this because, yes, it's all makeup and everything, but I feel like people are going to try too hard to see the actual actor behind it.
Yeah.
Well, and the part I find very entertaining is he was unknown but not unknown at the same time in that he's got a famous family in Hollywood.
But to general audience.
But the general audience did, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, people by this time, people knew his brother Alexander. Everybody knows his father Stellan. That's that kind of thing. But no, I remember seeing that thing. I don't remember what talk show he was on and whatnot. But that smile of his is legit him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. His
eyes.
One of his older brothers taught him that smile, and I'm like. Seeing him do it without even the makeup was still fucking creepy as shit.
Yeah. Like you said, the how his eyes like roll to one side. That's all him too.
I know they probably amplified some of the effects in the movie. I will say my one complaint with it, the new one, is I think some of the CGI is a little off. But it still doesn't take away my
when at the end when he's dancing and whatnot, his head almost seemed like it was disattached.
Yeah,
I find that uncanny valley though. I think that part is terrifying. The part that I don't like in this movie is, like you said, that some of the CGI doesn't hold up. It's the scene where the kids are watching the projector.
Yes,
and I think that scene is terrifying until the giant head comes out. I'm like. You lost all the suspense from that scene.
I jumped when I first saw it because I wasn't expecting it, but then when I did go back and watch it, I was like, that doesn't look right.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's my question. Did you jump because going into the movie, my aunt and my cousin were both like, God, the movie was, it was scary, blah, 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 blah. I was not scared. It's a great movie,
yep.
But I was not scared. The only time I jumped was the exact same scene he's referring to. But I didn't jump because it scared me. I jumped because of the camera edit.
Yep.
From the front to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So is that where you jumped, or what made you make that for you jump?
I knew it was going to be a jump scare. I knew it was coming, but I think it is what you said, the camera angle, because I just wasn't expecting that.
Right.
And I think it was just so jarring to see, and maybe. I don't know, but yeah, it just sucks like when you go back and you see that, and you kind of pinpoint the CGI. But yeah, I don't think it is a scary movie, but I think what makes the movie great are the kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are so well casted and they're so damn funny. I love when the kid is like, that he's taking the placebos and then he yells at his mom, you know what these are? They're gazebos. And they like, I just love the dumb humor. This kid from Stranger Things, Finn
Wolfhard,
yeah. He's great. I don't know. That's why I'm nervous about it, Chapter 2. I just hope that...
You bring up an interesting reference to the kids and whatnot, and the part about Chapter 2 that legit makes me nervous is they brought on the same de-aging process that Marvel uses, and to use the de-aging, but they're not using it on the adults.
They're using it on the kids.
They're using it on the kids because they freaking hit puberty,
mm-hmm.
and they have to de-age these kids to make them look like they did 2 years ago. And I'm like, God, I hope this works. I do.
If it's the same thing that Marvel uses, I think it'll be okay. And if it's very limited, I don't think it'll bother me. Yeah.
As long as they're doing it right, well, I'm afraid I'm gonna see a DC thing going on here.
I don't think it, and it's weird. It's so weird because it's rated R, but it's one of those movies that I think that a lot of kids could get something out of. Mm-hmm. Honestly, like I mean, the way it ends, even like it has this very uplifting music. They're all holding hands, and it's about kids overcoming their fears.
Mm-hmm. It's a better coming of age movie than it is a horror movie.
Yeah, and
I would agree.
It's just such a strange project because it doesn't feel like it should be rated R. It doesn't feel extremely scary, but it's just as entertaining and still has all this box office success. It's just, I don't know. I'm so fascinated with this movie.
I almost feel, I get what you're talking about, like necessarily the rated R and whatnot, and it almost has to me, because again, I personally myself don't see it as scary. I see it as good, but almost like they put enough into the movie that the MPAA has to give them a rated R.
He does eat a kid's arm in the first 5 minutes.
Well, the kids are cursing and swearing too. You drop 2 F-bombs in a movie and
you're already at rated R. Yeah, you get that 1 F-bomb in a PG-13.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on. We're all excited for Chapter 2, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Let's move on to Brian's favorite adaptation.
And you don't even know when you get to go.
No. The Shining.
All right, Brian.
Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
I mean, it's okay.
What's your
okay. Yeah, what is your problem? It's okay.
Are you just trying to be cool and a hipster?
Yeah, I'm just the aging hipster.
You're not in the hipster age right now.
Fast and the Furious over The Shining every day.
Oh my God.
No. I don't even know how I could even quantify that and not sound like a complete...
Is it true? Just say if it's true.
No.
Okay. That's good.
So just I'm respecting your opinion, even though you're wrong. But just go on.
Wow, I feel like the tables have turned again because how many times I'd be like, well, you're wrong. I don't know. I mean, Shelley Duvall is just kind of, I don't know. I don't buy the performance out of Shelley Duvall. I mean,
I do because she was literally tortured on set by Jack and Stanley Kubrick.
Well, and. Jack Nicholson does crazy, and it's just, I don't know.
God, Jack Nicholson is so good in this movie.
He is fantastic in it. And it's my favorite scene in this movie. It's not even the Here's Johnny scene. It's the scene where his wife and daughter are outside, and Jack is looking out the window, and you just see this dead face, just staring at them, there's nothing of an expression there, and it's terrifying.
I love any time he goes off on Wendy. Anytime he starts yelling at her and say, oh, maybe we should take Danny to a doctor, and just starts screaming at her. He just plays an asshole so well. And I get what you're saying about Shelley Duvall. I don't think she's the greatest. I don't. But I still think that it works.
Yeah.
Because
it kind of plays into the character a little bit. Well, because, when you make the reference in regards to the kind of the environment that she was put through during this movie could potentially also stem as to why her performance is the way it is in the movie.
Here's my appreciation for her performance. The fact that that Jack Nicholson is going crazy, and what's going on in the hotel, but the fact that Shelley Duvall also has some of those nuances where it's I don't like that, you almost like it when Jack is going off on her and like when he's screaming at her because you're like, yeah, but then when he really is going crazy, you want the kid and the mom to get out safe. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like you can see both sides of why they're so frustrated. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And I don't know if Kubrick, I don't know if that's intentional at all, but I don't know. That's why I find more appreciation for her performance.
Yeah, I think all the cast is great in this. Like, I don't hate Shelley Duvall's performance. I think it is perfect for what this movie needs. I think this is, in terms of cinematography and the way the film shot, I think it is my favorite of all time.
Well, it's definitely gorgeous in that respect.
Yeah, it is one of the most gorgeous films I've ever seen, and every shot is perfect and well planned, and every shot is worth examining in itself. Just the shot of my favorite shot in the film, of course, Danny driving the 3-wheel trike around the hotel, and then the Grady twins pop up and come play with us, Danny. And I love every single piece of this movie.
I still go back and watch this, and I'm like, I still don't know 100% like what it is. And there's a whole documentary about this movie that's trying to dissect.
Yeah, Room 237. It's that's a weird documentary.
It is really weird. It is weird, but it's interesting.
It's more of a conspiracy theorist movie than it is actually like about making of.
Well, I love
which is
conspiracy
fantastic.
Theories. So.
Well, and how do you go wrong with a movie when you got a man in there by the name of Scatman?
Scatman Crothers, he is awesome. I love Scatman Crothers. And then The Shining, I'm looking forward to the sequel.
Doctor Sleep.
Doctor Sleep.
Yeah,
that does look good. I'm not going to argue that at all. I mean, and they got a good, solid, lead out of Ewan McGregor to try to bring Danny to the new age.
And one of the best directors working today. That also helps.
You and your Flanagan.
Mike Flanagan is my boy.
He is amazing.
Yeah, see?
I love Hush.
He says Mike Flanagan, and all of a sudden he just gets aroused over here.
Fanboy on it. The Shining is a perfect movie.
Yeah, Brian, you're wrong. Next.
All right.
Your miniseries.
Yep. Do we want to talk about Salem's Lot at all? I think it's fine.
It's okay.
I didn't see 1922 or Salem's Lot, so.
Now that I remember that 1922 is a Netflix movie, I'm probably going to go back and. Because there's, 2 or 3 of them on this list that are Netflix?
Yep. I was going to watch it before this podcast, but I did not know we were literally going to go through every single Stephen King movie. If I would have known that, I would have watched it.
Maybe we're just trying to keep you on your toes.
Well, I'm on my toes.
Speaking of toes and feet, Misery.
Nice segue.
That was a really good segue.
I will give you that one.
Did you guys know this is the only Stephen King movie to get an Oscar?
Yes.
For Kathy Bates.
And Kathy fucking deserves it.
Yep, she did.
There's everything about this movie is one of the reasons why, I will watch anything with Kathy Bates in it because she's absolutely phenomenal. Like when she started working with the American Horror Story cast, I'm like, fuck yeah. I mean, this movie, like if anybody doesn't believe that she can't do scary, has never watched this movie.
I just think it's crazy that out of Green Mile, Shawshank, Shining, all of these movies, that this is the one movie
that gets the Oscar.
I mean, it definitely deserves it, but I just think it's crazy.
Yeah, she is fantastic in this movie, and like you said, Brian, she's terrifying. Like,
oh yeah.
I love this story. Stephen King, he of course, most of his main characters are writers, and then him running into the fact that this is a stalker fan who kidnaps this writer and forces him to write the next series in the book series that she loves, and she will constantly torture him if she doesn't think this is the way the character should go. And I love that, and one of my favorite lines is from this movie. She didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car.
Do you, not to backtrack, but there's another line in 1408 that I like that refers to writers where he tells Samuel Jackson he's a writer, and then he's asking him, do you smoke, do you drink? And he's like, I just told you I'm a writer. So I was like, yeah, obviously.
Just looking off the top here and pulling it up and whatnot, it kind of throws me back a little bit that it's also a Rob Reiner movie.
Yeah.
Rob Reiner was on back then.
Oh, yeah.
He
was. And that's just it. So I pulled it up because I was just kind of curious, and I clicked on his name and whatnot. I mean, if you look at his Rotten Tomatoes scores as of late, he's kind of been a lot of mostly miss versus hit. But yeah, like around the time when he was doing this and whatnot, like
Princess Bride.
Well, yeah, but
This is Spinal Tap.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, Princess Bride, Throw Mama from the Train, Harry Met Sally. Like, I mean, he was killing it in the 80s.
Yeah.
Got to Misery, and he's all, A Few Good Men, and then just kind of, it's been kind of all over the place at that point. But no, I was like, wow, knowing that this is Rob Reiner kind of makes me want to go back and rewatch it again.
Yeah, this movie it does isolation and the feeling of just constant dread. One of my favorite scenes is when James Caan is in the wheelchair and he's trying to get out before Kathy Bates gets back home, and the tension in that sequence is terrifying.
What's this scored at 90?
90.
Yeah. I mean, not to take away from Kathy Bates, but I think that James Caan should have gotten more recognition for this too.
Yeah, he's fantastic in this movie.
I actually just listened to, because I was just kind of going through some old things, like for Stephen King podcast, obviously, but they had said, and they were like commending his role because so many people did not want to take that role on because Kathy Bates is definitely like the center stage, like she's the one who's kind of overtaking everything. So, it's not something that a lead actor would normally want to take. He's like, well, I don't want to look weak. I don't want to look,
right.
like I'm not the main star, but
and considering the time, I mean, that's one of the things that James Caan's known for, is these very solid characters, and to be so, taken aback and showing to be so vulnerable, that is a big thing. I would have to completely agree with that.
All right, let's go to another Stephen King film that has a fantastic leading performance from a female lead, Gerald's Game.
And a fantastic director.
Another fantastic. Brian, you know this guy. Mike Flanagan.
There he goes again.
Gerald's Game is a fantastic film. Again, I brought up the isolation and dread. This movie has it even more because it is about a husband and wife who go out for a retreat to kind of rekindle their love, and it ends up with Carla Giacchino. She is handcuffed to her bed, and then her husband has a heart attack, and they are out in the middle of nowhere. No one knows they're there, and she has to find a way to survive.
I love how her like hallucination of her husband is just like taunting her and mocking her throughout her whole process of trying to escape. I didn't love the ending. I know that a lot. That's a very people split on it. I don't know. Are you a fan of it?
I love the ending. Yeah.
Okay.
Within the flashbacks and telling her story about her and her father.
That's no. I like that. That is good in the story. It's just the guy. I don't know if we're allowed for spoilers.
Go for it. Brian, do you care?
No.
Okay.
It says 2017 on it, so I'm sitting here going, I had my time.
Spoilers for 2 minutes. Go watch Gerald's Game.
Yeah. The main, I don't even know what the thing's name is. Do you know what, the main creepy guy? What's his name? What is he?
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember that ending for a second. Yeah.
I know what he looks like, but I cannot pinpoint what. And the actor.
Oh yeah, this guy, the Moonlight Man.
Yep, yeah. That's it. I didn't care for that. That whole aspect of the movie, I just didn't really care for.
The more supernatural.
Didn't he? Yeah. Wasn't he in the Addams Family?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
He played the.
Yes, Lurch.
He played Lurch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that whole aspect, but I've heard a lot of people argue against it, that it's makes the movie even more genius. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to go back and rewatch it because I forgot about that part because the thing I constantly think about is Carla Giacchino and then the flashbacks with Henry Thomas who plays her dad.
But you see, that's what I love about Mike Flanagan is what he can do with just a limited amount of cast and space, and I feel like throwing this character in the movie just, I don't know, completely took me out of it.
Yeah. What I love about Mike Flanagan, what he's doing right now is bringing back Henry Thomas for everything. Mm-hmm. He is fantastic in Gerald's Game. He's fantastic in Haunting of Hill House. He's really good in the second Ouija film that Mike did. And yeah,
I haven't seen that. But I heard it's good.
I love that he's bringing Henry Thomas, and he's fantastic in all those. And yeah, Gerald's Game, high recommend for me. All right, we're nearing our last couple here.
I want to throw this out there just because you said Henry Thomas and whatnot. Completely off topic. I highly recommend finding the movie 1114.
And E.T.
Well, and E.T. No, 11-14, amazing ensemble cast. Like, it has legit, like, 20 people in it that you'd be like, oh, I know that person. It's a good movie. But anyway, side note.
All right, let's move to the last three that we got here. Stand By Me.
Oh,
I'll let Brandon take this
You
one.
guys already know how I feel about this movie. I mean, I freaking basically tried to make a modern-day remake of Stand By Me because I love the movie so much. These kids, I don't know. Like, are their performances amazing as everyone says? I've seen the movie so many times, and I can admit, no. They are, but they're kids.
Right, I mean...
They seem very real.
You figure when this movie came out, how old these people were at the time and whatnot. I think for their age and the time this movie was made, I think they did a good job.
Yep.
You can't argue that. I mean, and for the four people that you have in this and kind of where their trajectory of career has gone and whatnot, I would say that any one of these people, even Phoenix included if he were still alive, would say, yes, I'm glad I have this movie as part of that I was able to be a part of this movie.
Even the supporting cast, like Kiefer Sutherland and everyone, John Cusack was in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. There's just the relationship that the Gordy has with his family, and that like emotional moment he has where he's like, my dad hates me, and just Chris Chambers, like when they're talking about the fire and he's talking about, I wish I could go to a town where nobody knows me, and then where all of his friends leave him and he's narrating what happens to everyone. It's just like, I feel like every kid can relate to this, even though obviously it's not a kid's movie, but at some point, you know, it's for an adult to go back and look and be like, yeah, that was what my childhood was like. And
as for like a movie for people to understand, I get what you're saying in regards to like it's not necessarily a kid's movie, but something that like a kid could watch to understand the importance of having those close-knit friends that you know that you can rely on.
Yep.
That, I mean, you look at this movie and there really is not a performance out of these four kids that you say, well, that was kind of thrown in there, or that was just like the chemistry of all four of these people just works.
Yep. I mean, there's just, I don't know, there's so much to love about this. Like I said, I literally was inspired by this movie to make another movie, Tales of American Hoodrat, premiering September 26th at the South Dakota Film Festival, also playing at the Orlando Film Festival. There's my plug.
There it is.
There's my plug.
There we go.
And, yeah, this movie's great.
Yeah. I think one of the coolest things that you can do, especially, like, I'm jealous because I watched this for the first time with my younger brother a few years ago, and he was, like, the age of these kids. I'm like, he's going to be able to watch this at this kid's age and then go back and watch it at like Richard Dreyfuss's age.
That's something special.
Like that's cool. I wish I would have had that.
Probably one of the biggest scenes, one at least of the scenes that always have stuck out in my mind, other than the train track scene, because you can never unsee that one. Is when they're in the junkyard and the dogs come after them, but most specifically when they're going through the river.
Sick balls.
And all the leeches.
Yeah, the leeches.
They go through the leech scene.
Yep.
My favorite line is when he's like, what's it going to be, Chambers? And he's like, why don't you go home and fuck your mother some more?
Yeah. Best coming-of-age movie ever?
Yep.
I'd say pretty up there at least.
I would have no disagreement with that. Shawshank Redemption. We're running into like just perfect movies now. Like
right.
Nothing wrong with them.
No,
like,
Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman absolutely just own this movie. I mean, it has a great supporting cast, but like, I could not picture anybody else doing this movie.
No, both are fantastic. The chemistry these two have, and then just the overall story that you fall into with Andy Dufresne, like you just can't help but feel for him.
It's been a while since I've actually seen Shawshank, but I don't think they ever really elaborated if he did it or not.
Yeah, they don't really.
I think that's what's great is that you can sympathize with people who.
I love the fact that there's the unknown. Did he do it? We're not going to tell you. You figure that out.
But no, like just because people make mistakes, and all of these people are in the same situation that he's in. Morgan Freeman. I love the monologue that he has when he's telling off the parole board, and when he knows that he's not probably not getting out ever. I always think of the Family Guy episode where they're making fun of that, and he's like, if you let me out, the first thing I'm going to do is kill again. And it's like approved.
That's unfortunately when I think of Stand By Me. I think they just did a Stephen King episode, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. The Shawshank is a fantastic film. Again, Frank Darabont he should make every Stephen King book.
But no, we got some other good ones in here. Again, we got Rob Reiner.
We do, but like he's hit every time. Frank Darabont. It's Shawshank, Green Mile, and then The Mist.
But look at this.
I feel like you look at Shawshank and Green Mile. They are very similar in tone.
Yep.
I feel like if you were to give him something, more of like a horror aspect. Like, granted, The Mist is good, but it's not my favorite. And I think that he has he did what he did with Shawshank and Green Mile very well.
Yeah, the only gripe I have with Shawshank is I don't fully believe that they just don't age when they're in prison.
Yeah.
I wish they would have added a little bit of makeup to them.
Yeah.
Well, it's.
But it doesn't take away from the story at all. It's just a small gripe that I have because I'm an asshole.
Right, because he's in there for 20 years and he still looks like he did when he went in.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a little bit of it because you can definitely tell there's some aging that's going on, mainly like the gray in his hair, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
haircut.
Yeah, exactly. The old man dies in the library, so they're showing some time.
Yeah,
that breaks my heart. Like that whole storyline. What's the guy's name again?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
The one who gets out and he tries living
Red.
a normal. Yeah. Tries living a normal life, and
it's not even heartbreaking that he didn't make it. It's when Morgan Freeman's character gets out, and then he's in the same room and he sees it up at the top.
Yeah. It's just, it really shines a light on people who have been in prison or been in jail. Like some people just have shitty circumstances. Some people maybe straight up made bad decisions, but that's not what they're
that's not who they are.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to move on to our last Stephen King film?
I guess.
And you were making the comment about the Frank Darabont, and I'm looking down, I'm going, and look who you have that has a decent track record, is making the #1 rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, so according to Rotten Tomatoes with 94%, this is Brian De Palma's Carrie.
I don't think
Should
I would
have been remade.
I knowing that it's De Palma, it kind of throws me off because this is not what I picture. This is not what I think of when I think of De Palma. I think of the action and stuff like that, like Mission Impossible and Scarface, and I mean, obviously he can do, a story-driven character pretty well and whatnot, but I'm just I would never, if somebody would have told me this without it having any sort of legitimate, evidence behind it, I would have been I would have never thought this being a De Palma movie.
Mm.
Yeah, I can see it in it because De Palma, his thing is he's kind of like Alfred Hitchcock was a big inspiration on him, and this looks like an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Oh, there's that. There's definitely that.
Yeah. I love Carrie. This might be my favorite Stephen King adaptation. I think it is a perfect film. The overall subtext of a girl becoming a woman and dealing with high school and bullies and
high school sucks.
Yeah, John Travolta's just an asshole in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the prom scene is one of the greatest scenes ever filmed in the history of cinema, and I think this movie doesn't work if it isn't for Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie. Yep. And their performances, they are just top notch. Deliver some of the best performances ever.
I just love those movies where you're questioning, wait, should I be rooting for this person right now? But you see everything that she gets put through, all the harassment, and then she deals with the same thing at home, and it's it's so satisfying, but yet it's just so evil and sinister, and having the blood on her too. I mean, that's just iconic.
Yeah. This is my favorite superhero origin movie.
Wait, so who's she turning into?
I don't care. Carrie. Carrie.
I feel like that's entering supervillain territory, but
these kids had it coming. I think she didn't need to kill everyone, I guess, in the high school.
Basically, everyone who bullied Casey in high school, just watch your back.
Just don't let me get covered in pig blood. Carrie is a perfect movie, and it also introduces something that has now become a cliche for at least horror films, is the final scene as a stinger for the next one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With Carrie's hand coming out of where her house once stood. It's a great little stinger.
They didn't need to make a sequel. They didn't need to make a reboot. They just needed to leave
No.
it. What year was this, man?
Before me.
1976.
This is ancient.
Right?
I'm kidding.
You're not wrong.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up. I'm just going to ask both of you, what is your favorite Stephen King movie?
Shawshank. It would be for me. It'd be a toss up between Shawshank and Stand by Me.
Stand by Me or scroll up again.
You know, as you're doing that, I'm semi-impressed.
Stand by Me or Shining.
I'm kind of surprised that you went over The Mangler.
I haven't watched The Mangler.
That's why he went over it. He'll call us out on everything we haven't
right,
seen.
Right.
Have you seen The Mangler, Brian?
I have. It's not great. Well, because I'm actually going through some things. I was like, well, we didn't talk about this. Because I was like, did it not fall up on this list? You know, that sort of thing and whatnot. Because one of the ones that we didn't go over too, which is Sometimes They Come Back, which, again, not a great movie, but... You know, it's definitely a weird movie, but no, the reason why I'm curious...
We're running at 2 hours for a Stephen King.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, is the reason why I figured for The Mangler, why I'm surprised you haven't seen it.
My boy, Robert Englund.
Robert Englund.
I know. I might have to just go watch that tonight.
I think that's a great idea.
That may be my pick. My two favorites, The Shining and Carrie.
Shining and Stand by Me.
All right, let's wrap this up. This has been there's just so many Stephen King things. Like I think it was a good thing we just had to go through all of them.
Yeah, the whole trying to pick and choose and whatnot.
Brian wouldn't have got to talk about his terrible ones.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen
half
the movies on here. I wish I was born earlier.
Are any of them off this list intriguing you the most?
I've wanted to see Creepshow. What was that one you were talking about? The one that Green Goblin had?
Maximum
Overdrive.
Yeah.
I might just watch that just for the hell of it.
Hell yeah. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Brandon, go ahead. Plug again.
Okay, yeah, so I was on here to talk about Tales of an American Hoodrat with you guys, was it a couple months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys were awesome. And it's just awesome to be back here on a regular episode. But yeah, we're going to be premiering at the South Dakota Film Festival on September 26th, opening night. It's going to be playing in New York at a film festival called Cinema Fest. And it just recently got selected for the Orlando Film Festival. So,
I'd go to Orlando, too. It sounds, I don't know, warmer.
Yeah, you can buy a ticket and come with. But yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on here to just talk movies and stuff.
Absolutely, anytime. And we're excited for you and all the selections that you guys get. And yeah,
thanks, man.
Yeah, Brian.
What?
Let's plug our stuff.
Plug away.
You can check out the this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just at Backlot 605. Also check out the Sioux Falls Film Community Group on the Facebook. You can just find that under our groups tab. Also check out the Sioux Falls Film Community Meetup. We're doing a second one on Wednesday, September 25th at Full Circle Book Co-op. If you're listening, this is our first episode since that meeting. Thank you for coming. It was a lot of fun. We want to see more people there. So if you're listening to this podcast, come join us and tell your friends.
Do it now.
Do it.
Also, check these guys out at SuperCon.
Hell yeah.
And, that happens.
Yeah, we unfortunately couldn't make the South Dakota Film Festival because that is the exact same weekend as SuperCon, but we'll be at SuperCon the last weekend of September. September, 27, 28, 29?
Yeah.
All right. You can also check out the next episode of the Killer Countdown, which drops on the 9th of September, which is A Nightmare on Elm Street. So I will be on that along with Corey Jacobson from Somewhat Random Movie Collection. We rank our favorite 8 of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Also check out Fat Dude Digs Flicks with Andy. He's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the same stuff as us. He's an awesome movie fan. And I think that's pretty much it. Follow us on backlot605.com for our latest movie news, articles, reviews, discussions. Everything is there, so check that out. Did I get it all?
You did a good job.
Yeah.
And then professional.
Then next week we have a completely different topic because we're going to be talking about some of our guilty pleasure rom-coms.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we got to diversify.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is
That has to be on there. Yes.
Pretty funny.
We're going to be
Sweet
joined.
home Alabama.
We're going to be joined by local comedian and actor Nathan Holtz. He'll be on the episode to talk about rom-coms. Yes.
I've seen way too many of them because of my mom. So.
All right.
I like your because of mom.
Because of mom.
Rom-coms are fun when they're done right.
When
Like
they're
10
done.
Things I Hate About You. Check out all that stuff that we just said. Brian,
Yes.
let's wrap this up. We're running long.
do it now.
All right, Brandon, thank you again for being here.
Thank you. Hopefully see you guys. Hopefully I see you guys again soon.
Absolutely. Brian,
Yes.
bye.
Bye.
We'll see you next time on the Backlot of South Dakota.